Smarmy Ted Cruz tells jokes and makes pop culture references to own the libs. So Ted Cruz gave a speech at the conservative slobberknocker CPAC. It probably could have used a little bit of a rewrite. In his entire 16-minute speech, Ted did not touch on a single policy position that I can even criticize. Instead, he chose to meander on about vague concepts like freedom and liberty. He also didn't present any critique of any leftist policy he didn't like, other than to say it was socialist and therefore bad. He subbed out policy talking points for what Ted Cruz would call jokes and pop culture references to own the libs. It was the conservative equivalent of Orange Man bad. Now, most of these jokes and pop culture references fail on their own merits, so I can present them without any commentary. However, some of these are so bad, I'm going to be forced to provide some additional context so you can truly understand how bad it is. Now, as we go through this, keep in mind some of the purposes of comedy. To entertain, to make a point by highlighting absurdities of things that we just accept, to celebrate cultural differences and bring us together. Ted Cruz attempts to use comedy in these different ways. Let's see how he does.
I gotta say, Orlando is awesome. It's not as nice as Cancun. But it's nice. And I gotta say, what an amazing array of speakers here at CPAC. For a second there, I thought we were in Des Moines. That one took people a minute.
So we come to Ted Cruz's first fail on an epic level. This joke is so bad that I had to include a little bit before and a little bit after the clip just to show how more context actually makes this more confusing. This comes from nowhere and it leads to nowhere. When I said Ted Cruz meanders through this speech, I meant it. Also, you are going to hear the worst impression of a standard shrill woman that I have ever heard.
Where the socialists control the levers of government, where they control the White House, where they control every executive branch, where they control both houses of Congress. Bernie is wearing mittens. And AOC is telling us she was murdered. And the media desperately, desperately, desperately wants to see a Republican civil war.
Would you like a spot of tea? You? Yes. Would you like a spot of tea? Yes.
And let me tell you, the media here looks at the men and women gathered here, at the young people gathered here, as dangerous radicals. This is the Rebel Alliance. And Vader and the Emperor, and let's be clear, they're not your father, are terrified of the rebels who are here, and I'm proud to tell you, Gina Carano is standing with us. Look, are there tensions in our party? Sure, because we believe in diversity. We believe in individuality. Different people have different views. We aren't the Borg enforcing. Okay, I may have committed a cardinal sin mixing Star Wars and Star Trek. Next thing you know, you're going to cross the streams and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's going to come. We were just too many terrible references there.
So fucking Ted Cruz clearly doesn't even understand the pop culture that he's referencing. He has never seen Ghostbusters. Crossing the streams doesn't summon the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It creates a reaction that they use to defeat the Marshmallow Man.
By the way, how many of y'all have eaten at a restaurant in the last 6 months? Can I just stop and say how strange the rules are right now? I want to understand how this virus works. So when you walk in, you got to put your mask on. Sadly, I've got two. You walk in, you got to put your mask on. You sit down, you take your mask off. See, apparently the virus is actually connected to elevation. No, remember, this is all about science. It's actually, it may not be elevation. I think it's that there are hormones that are released in your thighs when you're sitting. So you can sit at the table and there's no virus being transmitted. But if you stand up, put the mask on. And listen, let's be clear, this is a dangerous virus. But these collectivist statists, okay, now they're saying everybody can get immunized. We can have herd immunity everywhere, and we're going to wear masks for the next 300 years. And by the way, not just one mask, 2, 3, 4. You can't have too many masks. How much virtue do you want to signal? This is just dumb. The left believes in rigid conformity. We believe in diversity, free speech. You can say whatever you want, no matter how dumb it is. And by the way, in Washington, D.C., we test that proposition. Religious liberty, you can worship however you like on your knees before Almighty God. Or you can worship the almighty dollar. Or you can worship, I don't know, pink Martians. That's the beauty of the freedom, the Second Amendment. Oh, the left hates the Second Amendment. Because they want their people docile and compliant. You know, when we saw riots all across the country, I remember there were reports that riots were going to come into suburban, mostly peaceful, fiery but mostly peaceful. There were reports riots were going to come into the suburbs. I got to tell you, in Houston, where I live, there weren't any rioters. Because let's be very clear, if there had been, they would discover what the state of Texas thinks about the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. But number two, have fun. Have fun. You know, so many on the right, they act like they got a stick inserted somewhere it doesn't belong. Like, just lighten up. Especially now, the left, they are shrill. They are angry. How many leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb? That's not funny! Like, God bless. Who would want to be around these people? You know, Jerry Seinfeld doesn't tell comedy anymore because any joke that's funny is canceled. You know, SNL is unwatchable. The late night comedy, they stand up and say, we hate Donald Trump. Yeah, no kidding. We didn't get that the last 9,000 times you told that. You know, in 2020, the New York Times reported that 60% of women named Karen voted for Joe Biden. That's actually real. You can look it up, the fact checkers, that's what the New York Times reported. And I'm willing to bet 80% of the men named Karen voted for Joe Biden. Just have fun.
And we're about to come up on another epic fail from Ted Cruz that I have to jump in on. Now, this takes place immediately after the previous clip, and I included part of that clip where Ted Cruz is satirizing the media, I suppose, because sometimes they publish strange stories. Now, for complete context, Boehner was a congressman. He definitely worked with Cruz. He was the House Majority Speaker from 2011 to 2015. So Ted Cruz definitely knows who he is. Now, if Ted Cruz wants to big league Boehner and pretend not to know who he is as part of the joke, that's completely fine. But just as a reminder, the previous topic that Ted Cruz was talking about was strange things that the media reports, followed by a criticism of Washington politicians. The joke really serves no purpose. It didn't make a point. It didn't seamlessly transition from topic to topic. What the fuck is Ted Cruz even talking about? Now, the incident Ted Cruz is referring to in the clip, John Boehner was recording his memoirs for an audiobook, and instead of just sticking to what was on the page, he ended a particular sentence with Ted Cruz could fuck himself or something like that. But again, it was just kind of thrown in there without any particular purpose or any reason or any need other than to take a shot at someone who told him to go fuck himself.
Just have fun. You know, yesterday, John Boehner made some news. He suggested that I do something that was anatomically impossible. To which my response was, who's John Boehner? And you know what? There are a whole lot of voices in Washington that want to just erase the last 4 years. And the Republican Party is not the party just of the country clubs. The Republican Party is the party of steel workers and construction workers and pipeline workers and taxi cab drivers and cops and firefighters and waiters and waitresses and the men and women with calluses on their hands who are working for this country. That is our party, and these deplorables are here to stay. You know, last year I launched a podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Over 25 million downloads in a year. By the way, please go subscribe. Verdict with Ted Cruz, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Click on subscribe. 5 stars, please. Because I'm going to close with these words of encouragement. These are dark days, and the media tells us this is the new galactic empire forever and 1,000 years. And mark my words, 2022 is going to be a fantastic election year, and so is 2024, as we stand together and defend liberty, defend the Constitution, defend the Bill of Rights of every American. In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom!
God damn it, Ted Cruz is such a fucking idiot. He's not quoting William Wallace. He's quoting Mel Gibson from the movie Braveheart. That'd be like me saying, in the words of the immortal Pocahontas, you can paint with all the colors of the wind. Jesus Christ, that was exhausting. If you have a favorite Ted Cruz moment, leave it in the comments.